Hi, my name is Chrissy Vinton, and today I'll be showing you how to properly bandage your horse. Bandaging your horse can do a lot of good. You can bandage to help prevent or reduce swelling for shipping. You could do it to provide warmth to the ligaments, to provide some minor support in some of the wraps, but you can also do it to give wounds protection if they were on his legs. So this is my horse Hershey. He will be helping me demonstrate. But if you do put a bandage on wrong, it could cause a lot of damage to the horse, like cording, or you could bow a tendon, and it could ultimately provide major damage to them that could be forever. The first wrap that I'm going to show you today is a polo wrap. A polo wrap can be used for a lot of different things, but the main use today is just for looks. It doesn't really provide anything to the horse protection-wise. It does add a little bit of protection around the fetlock area. So if they do, for some reason, reach up and grab the back of the fetlock, this is kind of there to help not cause as much injury. So reasons why you wouldn't use a polo: you don't want to use it in a turnout because they could become loose and come off and basically cause a major issue for the horse. And especially if you're not out there watching the horse, it could cause even more problems. You don't want to use it in wet conditions because it can become wet and heavy. And that could also cause it to become loose. You also don't want to use it on a stocking up horse, due to when you put it on, the horse's leg is going to be fatter, but then once the polo restricts the leg, it's going to become loose and could also cause problems. Before I approach the horse, I'm always going to let them know that I'm here so that there's never an issue. And when you kneel down to do any wraps in general, you never want to sit on the ground or put both knees on the ground. You always want to either kneel or place one knee on the ground. For me, it's more comfortable to do one knee on the ground, so that's what I'm going to do. So to start my polo, you want to kind of start in the middle, but it depends on your horse's leg and the size of your polo, whether you need to start up higher or down lower, depending on how big their cannon is. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to go from the inside to the outside, front to back. I'm just going to hold it and wrap around. I want even, consistent pressure throughout. I'm going to do one lap to secure my polo, and then I'm going to wrap down with even pressure, making sure all of my laps that I do are even and the same distance apart. I always want to make sure that it's laying flat and smooth. Then once I get right above the fetlock, I'm going to create what's called the V. So I'm going to go down, kind of underneath the ergot, and up, so that I create that V shape right there that is ideal. So I'm going to continue to go around, even, consistent pressure, making sure there's no wrinkles, creases, anything like that. I'm going to keep going back up with nice, even pressure, even laps, until I get back up to the top of the cannon, just below the knee. Keep wrapping, making sure my laps are even, there's no creases, and I'm pulling with consistent pressure. Now that I've come to the end of my wrap, then I take the Velcro off, pull it around, the same pressure, and latch it. Sometimes the latches on these polos aren't always the best, so you could use a piece of masking tape and you could spiral it down just to add some extra protection if you needed to. But that is my polo wrap. Now I'm going to show you how to take the polo off. You don't want to go really slow. You don't want to roll the polo back up when you're taking it off. You kind of want to take it off as fast as you can. So if you have masking tape on there, you take the masking tape off first. And then I'm going to undo the Velcro, kind of wad it up into a ball, and go as fast as I can without dropping it to take the polo off. So that there's no dropping it and getting it caught up in their legs. Hi, so the next wrap that I'm going to show you is a normal standing wrap. So you need your track wrap and your quilt. You use a standing wrap for protection and very minor support. Not a lot of support given. You could use this if you're shipping a horse, after exercise if they need it. If they're stocking up, you could also use it to help reduce the swelling in the hind end. You can also use it for a wound, which I'll show you that wrap later. But you have to remember with a standing wrap that you need to change it 12 hours, every 12 hours, unless advised differently from your veterinarian, because you don't want to bow a tendon or cord them for leaving on too long. Okay, so now that we know what a standing wrap is for, I'm going to show you how to put it on. So again, just like the polo, you want to always let them know that you're there, just as a safety precaution. And you never want to kneel on the ground. You want to have just one knee on the ground or just kneeling down beside him. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to make sure that his leg is dry. There's nothing on it. If he came in from turnout, I don't want to have anything debris-wise that's going to cause an irritation to him. So I'm just going to make sure that it's dry. There's nothing on his leg at all. So then when I start, I'm going to take my standing wrap or my quilt. I'm going to start from, just like I did with the polo, in the middle of the cannon bone, inside to outside, front to back. So I'm going to start there and wrap it around, making sure that my ends are tucked in, and then I'm adding a little bit of pressure all the way around, but even pressure, making sure the wrap is smooth and that there's not any big folds or wrinkles, but always keeping that same tightness all the way around. Then I'm going to take my track wrap around, and again, I'm going to start in the middle kind of his cannon bone, latch my quilt in place, and then on my standing wrap, I'm usually going to touch behind every time to make sure that there's no wrinkles in it. So then I'm going to start going down, keeping that even, consistent pressure, even laps all the way down his leg, making sure there's no wrinkles, creases, or huge folds in it. I'm going to go down, and then when I get to the bottom of my wrap, I want to leave about a ½ an inch of quilt at the bottom. So once I have that ½ an inch around all the way, I'm going to start going back up, making sure there's no wrinkles or creases, keeping that even, consistent pressure with even laps all the way through the leg. Making sure there's no wrinkles, creases. Then once I get to the top, I'm going to take the Velcro, wrap it around, making sure that I leave that ½ an inch at the top and Velcroing it back to itself. If I don't think that the Velcro on this is very secure, I can take masking tape, if I can find the end of it, and securing it to the Velcro piece. I'm not going to add any pressure with the masking tape. I'm only going to wrap it around in the spiral formation with no pressure at all, just applying it to the leg. And then I'm going to make sure that it sits tight. Then I'm going to make sure that I can twist my wrap without it twisting around the leg. I also want to be able to fit 2 fingers in to make sure it's not too tight all the way around my wrap to properly take it off. So I'm going to take my masking tape and bundle it up so that it doesn't get caught in his legs, and I'm going to get rid of it. And then just like the polo, I'm going to undo the Velcro and take it off fairly fast so that he doesn't move and get tangled up. And then I'm going to grab my standing wrap off, and it's off. So the next wrap I'm going to show you is a wound wrap. You could use a wound wrap for a lot of different reasons. 1 is to protect the wound. 2 is to keep the wound clean, which will ultimately help the wound heal. You could also use it to reduce swelling if there is swelling on the leg from whatever injury the horse has gotten. You would also need to change it every 12 hours, just like a normal standing wrap, unless you're recommended by a veterinarian to leave it on longer. The supplies that I'm going to use today to do my wound wrap is a non-stick Telfa pad. I'm going to put petroleum jelly on it today, but you'd use whatever ointment was recommended by your veterinarian or whichever ointment you choose to do. Then I'm going to use my roll gauze to keep my Telfa in place. I'm then going to use my normal quilt wrap like I would for a standing wrap. Some people like to use roll cotton, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to use a track wrap today. Some people also like to use vet wrap on a wound. I'm then going to use my masking tape to secure the Velcro on my track wrap. I'm also going to use Elasticon, which is a sticky wrap that helps to keep debris and moisture and stuff out of the wrap. So I have that and a pair of scissors. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to apply the wound wrap now. The Telfas come in a sterile container, so I'm going to carefully take my Telfa out. And instead of cross-contaminating the ointment onto my hands and then onto his legs, I'm just going to take the Telfa and stick it into the petroleum jelly and come out so that the petroleum jelly is directly on to the Telfa and not onto me. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Telfa and my roll gauze. I'm going to remind him that I'm there, again, not kneeling down all the way, but just kind of on one knee. So we're gonna pretend that his wound is right here on the side of his cannon. So I'm gonna stick my non-stick towel foot and the ointment of whatever you choose onto his leg. I'm then going to take my roll gauze and wrap this around. You don't necessarily want pressure or tension on the roll gauze. You kind of just want it tight enough so that it's gonna stay on, but you don't want it super tight that it's cutting circulation or causing other problems. So I'm just gonna go around the tofa as much as I need. And so I would think that's enough. So I'm gonna take my scissors and carefully cut my roll gauze. To where I need it. And then I'm gonna get rid of these and just make sure that this is still on there and that there's not really any wrinkles, there's not tight or anything like that. Then I'm gonna grab my track wrap and my quilt. I'm gonna do my normal standing wrap as you would on just any normal one. So I'm gonna start on the inside and go to the outside, front to back. So I'm gonna hold it in place, just like before. Gonna tuck my tails in, making sure that I hold even, consistent pressure on the wrap, that there's no wrinkles, no folds, and no major creases in it when I wrap it. I'm gonna take my track wrap then, place it on his leg, starting in the middle, as I found that's where I need to start with this certain track wrap. Then I'm gonna go around, just like I would for a normal standing wrap, making sure there's no creases, no folds, or any big wrinkles in the track wrap itself. I'm gonna make sure that I do hold the tightness of the standing wrap, but not too tight and not too loose. And I wanna have the even, consistent lines and hold pressure throughout, using the same amount of pressure, consistent pressure, making sure there's no wrinkles, folds, creases, anything like that. Making sure my lines are even. And once I get to the top, I'm going to make sure I didn't just cause any wrinkles, anything like that. Just kind of check it out, come back around and latch it. Then I'm going to grab my masking tape. I'm going to then, just like I did on my standing wrap, not add any pressure, not any tightness, just using the masking tape as it's laying on there, just to keep the Velcro in place. I'm then gonna take the Elasticon, and sometimes you wouldn't use Elasticon, but we like to use Elasticon to make sure that there's no dirt or debris or anything that can get inside the wrap and cause the wound problems or cause him irritation problems. So I'm gonna take the Elasticon, and you wanna put about 50-50 on. So you want about 50% of it on the leg and 50% of it on the wrap. So about right there. And you don't want any pressure on his skin. You kind of just want to set it on there, because this could also cause problems with cording or bowing a tendon because you're adding pressure. So then I'm just going to cut the Elasticon once I've gone a lap around. Push it on there. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's applied to both the skin and to the wrap evenly. And then I'm going to do the bottom of the wrap the same way, half and half, all the way around, not really pulling on his skin, but just kind of setting it on there. And then I'm also going to cut this one once I've gone about 1 and a half laps around, setting it on there. Then I'm just going to make sure that it's on both of his skin and kind of not really on his coronet band, because you don't want to add any pressure. And then I'm just going to make sure again that my wrap is secure, it's not loose. And this also helps to make sure that it doesn't fall down. So the next wrap I'm going to show you is the stack wrap. We use the stack wrap for a couple different reasons. If he were to have a wound above his knee that would need to be wrapped, we could use a stack wrap. If he had swelling above his knee in his forearm area, this would also be a wrap that we could use to keep the swelling down. Again, you would need to change it every 12 hours to make sure that nothing's happened to the wrap. But you could leave it on if your veterinarian recommends you leave it on for longer. So what you need for your stack wrap, you need a little bit longer of a quilt for the top to kind of go from his knee up. you need a smaller quilt for your normal anchor phase is what we're gonna call it now, standing wrap. You need your smaller track wrap to wrap your bottom one. Then I like to use the longer track wraps instead of using 2 different track wraps or three different track wraps over the whole wrap. I like to just use 2. Then I would use my masking tape if I needed to. If I felt the Velcro on either of my wraps was not going to hold overnight, I could use my masking tape in a spiral. Then I'm also going to utilize my elasticon again, and I also have a pair of scissors. Okay, so now that I've explained what we would use a stack wrap for, you always want to, again, remember, always tell them that you're there. Make sure that they know what's going on. Also, I'm going to keep my knee on the ground, never kneel or be completely, you want to kneel but not be completely sitting on the ground or both knees on the ground. So I'm going to start my anchor phase kind of like I would with the standing wrap, but I'm going to go underneath the fetlock. So now that I've got my wrap on here, I'm going to, just like I would on a normal standing wrap, I'm going to go around with even pressure. And for this one, I really want to make sure that my top shelf up here is even, so when I do put that top wrap on, it sits on their level. So I'm just going to make sure that I tuck my pieces in, adding even, consistent pressure all the way through the wrap. So once I got that on there, I'm going to take my track wrap and apply it to the leg, just like I would on a normal standing wrap. Making sure that there's no wrinkles, creases, or folds in my track wrap, and also making sure that my layers are even, and then I'm holding it with a consistent pressure, like I would with a normal stack wrap, or with a normal standing wrap, excuse me. Once I get to the bottom, I'm going to leave that 1/2 inch, making sure there's no folds, wrinkles, creases, and keeping that consistent pressure, even consistent pressure, all the way through the entire wrap. Making sure there's no wrinkles as I go. Then once I get to the Velcro, making sure everything is laying flat, and I'm going to have to recheck it and make sure that I didn't cause any wrinkles when I accidentally dropped it. Leaving that nice shelf at the top. And just like that, I'm going to make sure I check it, make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. You especially want to make sure that this wrap is nice and steady and is not going to go anywhere, because if this wrap goes somewhere, then your top wrap is going to fall off, and you don't want that to happen. So to make me feel more comfortable with this Velcro, I am going to take my masking tape and spiral it down this leg just to make sure that this Velcro does not come off. Again, not adding pressure, I'm just wrapping this masking tape around just to make sure that that does not come off. So now that I've got my anchor phase done on my stack wrap, I'm going to go ahead and apply the top layer. So again, I'm going to make sure that I always tell him that I'm here, and then I'm going to be working down here on his leg. So I'm going to do the top of this just like I would on a normal standing wrap, wrapping wise, but I'm going to lay this right on the top of the shelf that I've created with the other wrap. So I'm going to again start in the middle of his leg, and I'm going to make sure that it's tight, even pressure, tucking my tails in, making sure that they're not folded or wrinkled. I'm coming back across, holding that consistent pressure, and then going to take my track wrap and hold it back here and wrap around, making it latch in the back, and then going down with even, consistent pressure. I'm going to go down over the 2 wraps to kind of make it into one wrap, and I'm also going to go over the elastic or Velcro piece on the bottom to make sure that that is secured as well within my wrap. So I want to make sure that my layers are even, and then I'm doing consistent pressure all the way down my leg, down over that Velcro. Once I'm over that Velcro, I'm going to start coming back up with that same pressure, making sure it's not wrinkled or there's folds being created, because that could cord or bow a tendon. And then once I get back up to the top of my leg, making sure there's no wrinkles. Going to undo my Velcro, leaving that 1/2 inch at the top like I normally would, and wrapping that around. On this one especially, since his leg does grow a little bit taller or bigger at the top, the Velcro doesn't necessarily fit all the way onto the Velcro piece. So I'm definitely going to want to use masking tape on this one. Again, not pulling it tight on his leg, just setting it there to make sure that that Velcro does not come off. Then I'm going to add my Elasticon. For this wound wrap, Elasticon does a couple different things. The Elasticon is going to help so that no debris or anything can get into here and cause irritation throughout the entire wrap. The Elasticon can also help so that the stack wrap doesn't slide down. It's going to cause it to stick to the skin and not be able to. So I'm going to go ahead and undo my Elasticon. And I'm going to do the 50-50, 50 on the skin, 50 on the leg. Roll it so I'm not putting pressure on his skin or his hair. Wrap it around. Do about 1.5 laps. Again, not pulling, just laying it so that it's sticking to both the skin and to the wrap. Then I'm going to make sure that it's sticking to his leg and not coming off already. Then I'm also going to apply it to the bottom. So I'm going to undo my Elasticon again. Again, 1/2 on, 1/2 off. So putting it on there and unrolling it. Not to add pressure to his leg, but just to wrap it around. Gonna cut it out and make sure, please, just set it. And I'm gonna make sure that it's nicely around his lower leg so that it's sticking to both the skin and the wrap. Then I'm just gonna make sure that I can't feel any looseness or uneven pressure anywhere on my wrap. And also making sure that it's gonna stay there overnight so I don't have to worry about it falling off and causing injury to him. So that is your stack wrap. So the last and final wrap I'm gonna show you today is the foot wrap. We use the foot wrap for a couple different things. If the horse got a hot nail during shoeing, we could use a foot wrap to help with that. If he pulled a shoe, say in turnout or in his stall, or we had to pull it due to it falling off, we could apply a hoof wrap just to add some extra padding. If he did lose the shoe, also if he has a draining abscess, we could use this hoof wrap as well, as we don't want to contaminate the abscess inside the hoof. Some of the things that you need to do a hoof wrap, you need your telfa, and a lot of the time, for say if you had an abscess, you'd use Ichthyophil to draw the abscess out, but today we'll just use a little petroleum jelly to say that we're using Ichthyophil for an abscess. We then will take a diaper. We like to use diapers because they fit the foot really well. Newborn diapers work the best. And so we have a diaper. We're then going to wrap it in a little bit of vet wrap, and then we're going to make a 4x4 pad with duct tape. To show you how to do that in just a minute. And then I also have scissors in case I need to cut a slash in it to help relieve pressure on the coordinator band. So to make our duct tape 4x4 square pad that we're going to put on the bottom of the diaper, I like to put it on my leg because then it's really easy for me to just pull it off and put it right onto their hoof. I don't have to worry about having someone get the duct tape off the wall for me or putting his foot down. So to make the 4x4 square, I'm going to undo my duct tape. I'm just going to put it on my leg, and I'm going to do between 4 and 6 of these upwards, and I'm going to overlap each piece of duct tape so that they stick together. So I've got 2 on there now, and the duct tape helps a lot because if you just put vet wrap on it, they're most likely going to walk through it, and then you're going to be back to square one. with whatever hoof problem that they have. So duct tape just adds that little extra padding on the bottom so they don't walk through the diaper. So I'm going to put 5 pieces on there. And then I'm going to do another 5 pieces going vertically, the same way up the duct tape, overlapping. Ugh. Again. So I've got 3 on there now. Gonna do 2 more just to make sure that I've got enough. And here's 1 more. And then I like to also take about 3 other pieces. So once I put this duct tape piece on, I can put them over the tops of these ends to even add more security to making sure that the duct tape doesn't come off. So I'm just gonna add 3 extra pieces on my leg. Okay, so now that I've got my 4x4 square done and I'm ready to put my hoof wrap on, again, I'm always gonna make sure that he knows that I'm here. I'm gonna go down and pick his foot up just like you normally would. You also wanna make sure that you pick their foot out. So he came in from turnout and didn't get his feet picked, and so I'm gonna go ahead and pick his feet out really quick to make sure that there's no extra debris or anything in there that could cause a problem with whatever hoof problem he does have. And he does have a pad, but sometimes usually when you're doing a hoof wrap, they will either not have a shoe on or won't have a pad on. So we're just gonna pretend that he doesn't have a pad on. So now that I've cleaned my foot out, I never wanna set it down because I don't wanna get other debris, moisture, or anything else in the foot that could cause a problem. So then I'm gonna take my Telfa pad, my nonstick Telfa pad, and use it like I would dip it into the ointment if I was using an ointment like Ichthyophthora for an abscess or whatever ointment that is recommended to you or that you choose to use. So I'm just going to take my Telfa and set it in there and hold it in there. Then I'm going to grab my diaper and open it up. And it works really well if you take the crease of the diaper and put it in the crease of the front of their foot. Then I'm going to take my diaper. And the diapers work really well because you can take the latches that are on there and latch it directly to the leg. So I'm gonna latch that to his leg. Then I'm gonna take my vet wrap and I'm just gonna take however much vet wrap I think needs to be on there. Usually you're gonna go around quite a few times just to make sure that that diaper's on there and that it's not going to come off when he's walking, and it also just provides extra padding if he did lose a shoe or is sore on his feet. You also want to make sure that you're not adding a lot of pressure on the coronary band. I'll show you a trick if you do accidentally add pressure onto it, how you can relieve that pressure. So I'm just going to keep wrapping around it until I'm through. This is about a half a roll of vet wrap, which I think is a pretty reasonable amount of vet wrap to put on a foot wrap. So I'm just gonna secure that down like that. Then I'm gonna take my 4x4 pad of duct tape that is on my leg still, and I'm gonna set it evenly onto his foot, kind of center it onto his leg. And then I'm just gonna push it down all the way around. So that it's nice and even. Usually these aren't very pretty wraps, but that's okay because he's just wearing it for a short period of time. At this point, I could put his foot down because it is completely wrapped up. Then, like I said before, I like to take extra pieces of duct tape and place them around onto the pieces of duct tape of the slab of the pad so that they don't come up. So I like to put one on each side to make sure that they're all wrapped up nice. Now that I have my hoof wrap done, it kind of sits over my coronary band, and you really don't want to add pressure to your coronary band for a long period of time. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut away the excess diaper
and vet wrap that sits on the coronary band. I'm going to carefully do this so that I'm not hurting him. And just go all the way around. And just take that extra diaper and vet wrap off. So now you can see that it doesn't sit on my coronary band, which isn't going to add any pressure, so he would be comfortable in this wrap. So now that I've completed the 5 wraps I'm going to show you today, let's just review what they're called. We did a polo wrap, a standing wrap, a wound wrap, a stack wrap, and a foot wrap. These are 5 different ways that you could bandage your horse. I want to thank my horse Hershey for putting up with me, and I want to thank you for your time. I hope these videos are helpful.